Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, we're going to react to Texas closing all of its borders. What the heck is going on? Like, what is happening? Like, I've heard little bits and bobs. I think there's massive migration crisis. It's happening in New York. I think it must be happening in Texas as well. I mean, for Texas to shut down every single border, like it was the governor, Greg Abbott, I mean, it must be a really serious situation. If there's any Texans watching this video, like, is it as bad as, I'm led to believe? Like, are they just flooding in uncontrollably? Like, what is causing them to come in so much? Is it a higher amount than usual?
To ensure that those employers are going to have access to the very best educated and trained talent in the United States of America.
In recent days, tensions along the border with Mexico have increased. The hardening of public opinion in the United States towards migrants is pushing them to arrive at the border quicker. Every day, illegal immigrants feel as if time is running out. This long-running conflict reached a new high when the state of Texas took extreme actions. We will go over these options in depth. However, a solid majority agree that these difficult decisions are necessary for the future of the United States. What are your thoughts on immigration? Please share your views with us in the comments. The Border Patrol announced that 249,785 persons were arrested in December 2023.
250,000 in 1 month?
Followed by a reduction in
insane.
arrests in January, which set a record and heightened anxiety over illegal immigration. Arrests decreased from over 205,000 in January to approximately 141,000 in February. March showed an increase in migrant flows, while arrests were somewhat lower. While the Supreme Court's judgments and Texas Governor Greg Abbott's actions collide, a new crisis has emerged at the border in recent days, with the arrival of thousands of migrants. Every few days, more than 2,000 migrants cross the southern border. And in addition to the 20,000 border guards, 700 elite guards and 200 additional elite guards have been sent. This week's flood of migrants, as well as the Supreme Court verdict, pose significant challenges to Texas Governor Greg Abbott's efforts to strengthen his measures of barbed wire, a border wall.
Why, the question is, like, why are they coming in so much? A better life, probably. Maybe fleeing horrible situations in Mexico. I don't know, I've never been to Mexico, but Mexico's never really struck me. I know they've got problems with the cartel and stuff, but it's never struck me as a country that, like, there's no wars happening in Mexico, are there?
And elite guards. But how is this record flow of migrants to America worsening the tension between federal and state policy, as well as impacting the delicate balance between border security and human rights? Texas's recent attempt, backed by Governor Greg Abbott, to chart its own course on border security and immigration legislation marks a fundamental shift in U.S. immigration policy. With Senate Bill 4, Texas has taken a significant step towards taking a more active role in combating illegal immigration within its borders. This drastic action is viewed as the state's response to the federal government's immigration policy. However, the legal and ethical questions that SB 4 has sparked are not unique to Texas. Its potential influence on immigrant populations around the country demonstrates that it is more than simply a state problem. As Governor Greg Abbott tries to enact Senate Bill 4, the strategy to tackle illegal immigration in Texas is anticipated to face another judicial battle this week. Last month, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre warned that SB 4 is damaging and unconstitutional, and that it would not only make Texas communities less safe, but would also burden law enforcement and cause chaos and confusion along the southern border.
That's so interesting. So the White House and, the Texan governor clearly are at loggerheads here. That's so interesting how the president can't just say, no, you can't do that. I kind of like how there's an element of its own self-governance in America. Like, each state kind of has a bit of control over its own, ongoings and legislation.
Mexico has now joined the conflict, sending a press statement stating that there should be a unified immigration policy and that Mexico would not accept returns from the state of Texas under any circumstances.
Really?
Furthermore, rural Texas sheriffs have voiced worry about how to handle the projected flood of detained migrants
Why won't they accept returns if they're originally from Mexico?
if the measure passes. Terrell County Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland, who formerly worked as a U.S. Border Patrol agent before transitioning to local law enforcement, said in a statement that he supports the proposed legislation to keep his country and state safer, but that the county prison does not have the capacity. Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland stated, "But before we can begin arresting and charging illegals under SB 4, we need to work out a few details. My office's major restraints are funds and resources." Texas Governor Greg Abbott believes his Operation Lone Star initiatives to combat illegal immigration are already successful. Illegal crossings are decreasing in Texas, but expanding significantly in California and Arizona. This is due to the border wall, barbed wire barricades, and arrests by the National Guard and the Texas Department of Public Safety. On the other hand, the most
But how are they increasing in California and Arizona? There's no border between Mexico and California, is there? Maybe, actually, maybe. But I don't think so.
intelligence from the region indicates that a new caravan of 2,000 migrants is headed north of Mexico towards the U.S. border and is likely to arrive in El Paso, Texas.
Yeah, like this is okay. So there is a border between Arizona and Mexico. There is. Does it reach California? Perhaps it does on that far left-hand side.
Within the next few days. Over the course of the day, a group of people walked through the streets of southern Mexico, as captured in social media videos. In one of the videos, an apparent leader is seen using a megaphone to encourage the throng to scream the phrase "a la frontera," which translates to "towards the border." The video also clearly shows the gathering yelling in Spanish, "We are not criminals, we are international workers." According to Border Report, church-run border shelters are preparing for the group's arrival because there is nowhere to lodge the thousands of migrants attempting to enter the United States. Reverend Francisco Bueno Guillen, head of the Casa del Migrante shelter in Juarez, Mexico, said,
Do you know what? Like, on the one hand, uncontrolled illegal migration, it's not a good thing. If you can't anticipate the numbers of people coming in, the infrastructure of the country just can't be expected to cope with an impossible to calculate number of people. But on the other hand, a lot of these migrants will do jobs that Americans don't want to do. Like it's happening in the UK. Like a lot of these jobs, the low skilled jobs like picking fruit, things like that, that Brits don't really want to do because they're low paid. Someone needs to do them. So it's a balancing act, isn't it?
been in contact with people and staff at migrant shelters in southern Mexico. They have recently witnessed a large influx of individuals into the nation and others who are already there joining them. And sure, they will visit Juarez. Father Francisco Bueno Guillen stated that they expect at least 2,000 migrants from Chiapas, Mexico, to arrive in El Paso in the following days. The operation, known as the Via Crucis of Migrants, was organized by Mexican activists in Chiapas to secure the safety of migrants traveling to the U.S. According to Border Report, the gang just fled Tapachula near the Guatemalan border. Another group of several hundred foreign nationals tented outside a grocery shop in Chihuahua City, around 230 miles from El Paso. Guillen, however, stated that the Casa del Migrante shelter is already at capacity. Guillen stated that the shelter was only 20% full a few days ago, but has already increased to 75% capacity.
Wow,
Santiago
in a few
Gonzalez, head of the
days.
Juarez Human Rights Office, told El Diario, a Mexican daily, that the Kiki Romero Municipal Gym was likewise three-quarters filled as of yesterday. Bishop
I wish there was a way to know why they are all coming. Like, do they all just think that their lives will be better in America? Probably. They're probably going to earn more money, but the cost of living in America surely has to be higher than it is in Mexico. So won't it offset, you're going to make more money, but you're going to be paying more on rent, you're going to be paying more on food, transport, everything. Maybe there's other reasons, perhaps safety, I guess. Yeah, safety. If you've got a family and you live in, an area controlled by the cartel, yeah, I'd want to get them out of there too, to be honest with you.
Mark J. Sates of the Catholic Diocese of El Paso informed his counterpart south of the border that he would continue to mobilize all available resources and remain current on trends. El Paso has demonstrated its ability to respond to a surge by providing a secure and orderly process for those let in to locate a safe situation and continue on their trip, according to the border report. Meanwhile, the Texas National Guard has sent 2 planes carrying 200 tactical border fence personnel to El Paso, according to KTSM. A spokeswoman for the Texas National Guard informed the broadcaster that the organization specialized in civil disobedience actions. Their deployment comes just days after a gang of migrants stormed the El Paso border, tearing down concertina wire and trampling Border Patrol personnel who tried to stop them. Texas officials apprehended 9 migrants participating in the breach last Thursday. Furthermore, a state government source stated that the migrants face accusations of instigating a disturbance, causing property damage worth more than $2,500, and assaulting Guard soldiers. According to the source, Texas officials want to shoot scores of people on felony or petty counts. According to the source, federal officials will be required to turn over the accused to the state. Meanwhile, Texas border agents seized knives and handles from migrants who attempted to break the El Paso border wall. The herd of migrants rushed over Texas National Guard members who were sorting them into groups for Customs and Border Patrol detention. According to a National Guard source, at least one individual attempted to seize a soldier's pistol during the frenzied attack.
The thing is, I'm trying to think of a way you can kind of stop this, or at least reduce the number of migrants coming in. Because if you just close all your borders, I think international law, you have to let in refugees. So you would have to basically, if you wanted to close all your borders, you would basically have to say, we're not going to obey international law anymore. But then again, if you don't obey international law, you can't expect the rest of the world to do the same. So I'm not sure if you can do that. On the other hand, do you let in children, women, I guess? But then what about the men? Oh, man, I really don't know. This is such a complicated problem. I really don't know. Do you guys have any clue? I know some of you are going to be just saying, yeah, close the borders, close the borders. But I don't know if I guess you can do that, but...
These individuals were willing to fight the military. They were prepared to strike police enforcement. They are not following our laws, he stated. Some troops who had minor injuries were treated at a local hospital. The altercation erupted at Gate 36, where possible asylum seekers congregate in the hopes of earning permission to remain in the United States. Located on U.S. property is not an official entrance point and is not suited to handle asylum requests. Texas authorities have also indicated that they are evaluating video evidence to establish whether migrants in Border Patrol custody were part in the incident. At least one migrant was detained for reportedly attacking an officer and is facing charges of assault, property destruction, assaulting soldiers, and inciting a riot. According to Orlando Marrero Rubio, a U.S. Border Patrol spokeswoman, anyone who unlawfully enters Gate 36 may face deportation and a 5-year bar on future immigration benefits. However, while thousands of migrants are permitted to enter the United States across the southern border every day as a result of the Biden administration's policy, many migrants caught up in the fighting are also likely to be allowed to enter the country. According to CBP data, 817,000 migrants have been let into the nation over the last 5 months using
How many? He didn't just say 800,000.
817,000 migrants have been let into the nation over the last 5 months using the CBP One app to track asylum requests, with just 156,000 flagged for deportation. A spokeswoman for the National Guard at the border
817,000 over 5 months. Extrapolate that. That's like 1.6 million a year. That is crazy, man. That's basically like the city of Birmingham every 6 months. That's mad. I mean, obviously you guys don't know Birmingham, but that's, one of the largest, like maybe the 5th or 4th largest city in the UK. Add that onto the country every single 6 months.
Stated, "Our main concern is that the Border Patrol is busing migrants into the country. We can push them back as far as we want, but they understand that if they make it through and reach the wall, the Border Patrol will pick them up and process them. Since the disturbance, the government has increased personnel at Gate 36. More Texas Department of Public Safety troopers have been dispatched to the location, along with scores of National Guard members. Following the incident, Customs and Border Protection's air and marine operations flew helicopters above the entrance. Some DPS troops at the entrance now carry pepper spray. However, other officials feel the increased presence will not be enough to prevent asylum applicants. With Senate Bill 4, Texas has taken a significant step towards taking a more active role in combating illegal immigration within its borders. This drastic action is viewed as the state's response to the federal government's immigration policy. However, the legal and ethical issues created by SB 4 are being investigated beyond the southern border. The potential impact on immigrant communities across the country demonstrates that this legislation is more than simply a state matter. What are the objectives behind this bill, and what are the probable consequences? Most significantly, will these changes bring answers to America's long-standing immigration-related problems, or will they exacerbate existing differences?
This is the thing, like when you're America, one of the, if not the wealthiest countries in the world, of course, people are going to want to live there, and the very economic system of America is based on growth, infinite growth, companies making more and more money so that they can, create more and more jobs, right? And one of the best ways to encourage growth is more people. That's the truth of it. If there's more people in a country, more people are going to be buying food, paying for rent, etc. So you better believe at some level, these big corporations probably want this mass migration to continue. Like, believe it or not.
These topics are essential to the continuing discussion about America's immigration dilemma. A measure allowing
It also keeps wages low because if you've got more people fighting for jobs, you don't have to pay high wages because you know that someone's always going to be there to want to do that job,
Texas authorities to make their own arrests, detentions, and deportations without federal scrutiny has been making its way through the legal system since last year. While advocates claim that the plan would help the state manage immigration and enhance public safety, detractors claim it is illegal because it allows inexperienced police personnel to make difficult immigration judgments. This comes at a time when immigration is hotly debated in the state and throughout the country. Some Republican-led states, including Arkansas and South Dakota, sent their own troops to help monitor the Texas-Mexico border. However, tensions in this scenario reached a boiling point, with disagreements between the state and federal officials fueling worries that the situation may devolve into civil war. SB 4 was approved at a special Texas legislative session in November 2023. However, it has been the subject of several legal wrangles and is no longer in operation. The case will return to the court this week, where a panel of 3 judges will decide whether SB 4 violates the Constitution. The hearing will be held in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans, where attorneys from both parties will have 30 minutes to persuade the panel of their views. SB 4 was initially scheduled to go into effect on March 5th. However, the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Texas approved a motion for a preliminary injunction to prohibit SB 4 from going into force. The United States Supreme Court then granted an administrative stay on SB 4, thereby prohibiting Texas from enacting it. On March 19th, the U.S. Supreme Court gave a surprise decision, allowing the statute to take effect by a vote of 6-3. Just hours later, the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit prolonged the law's stay, saying 2-1 that SB 4 should be halted while the dispute proceeds. The Biden administration opposed the measure, claiming it would breach over 150 years of history. The Biden administration's judgment implies that only the federal government has the jurisdiction to police illegal immigration, which is one of the primary reasons why it has become such a major issue. So what are your thoughts on this issue? Please tell us.
Very, very interesting. It's such a tricky problem. The whole Western world is pretty much dealing with it. The UK has got its own issues with uncontrolled migration. I think the only country I can think of that's probably avoiding this is Australia, and that's because it's just so far away and hard to get to. I really don't know. I thought maybe if you could solve the problem at the root, if you go to Mexico, find out why people are leaving and try and tackle it there, whether it's by creating infrastructure, by, trying to reduce the impact of the cartel behavior. I think that's ultimately where you need to try and go. Because if you close all borders with Mexico, first of all, I think human beings are just capable of incredible things. They will find a way in. They will find a way. Trust and believe that. So I think that a better strategy is to, try and help the people there. And, by doing that, you keep them there. You keep them in Mexico. But yeah, something definitely needs to be done because, like schools, roads, they're built, like infrastructure is built to occupy a certain number of people. Unless you're consistently upgrading infrastructure, eventually the whole thing collapses under the weight of the population. So something definitely needs to be done. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.